down.
No. Alrighty. So welcome everyone. You are in the Traveling the Earth Virtually Part 1 session. If you would like to see the second part of this, we have another session on Sunday, December 13th at 9 o'clock a.m. So my name is Gina Powell and I'm the host, and we also have Ruthie Dixon, and she is the moderator. And now I would like to introduce Mr. Tim Stammer, and he's our presenter. Tim is an educator, blogger, learner, geek, photographer, and you can connect with him at assortedstuff.com. This info can be found in the description. So he's also a VSTE committee member, and so am I, and so is Ruthie. And he's also a member of the VSTE Board of Directors. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you very much. And welcome to everybody. I'm glad to see so many people were able to join us late on a Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, as Gina said, this is a two-part session. It's actually three parts. I tried to fit that in there. Part one is where I'm going to go over some ideas of how you build a project in Google Earth. Part two is on Sunday morning. We call it the church hour during our planning session. So I got the church hour. And then part 1.5 is in the middle, where you're going to do some hands-on with Google Earth and add to our project. So, and this will be, hopefully this will all become a lot clearer once we get into this. So let me just bring up the Earth here. There we are. And we're in the Earth. I'm going to assume that all of you have at least opened Google Earth and started playing with it a little bit. So you have a general idea of what's in there. We're going to look at a specific part of it though. In Google Earth, there are a lot of different pieces. And if you look at the different items along the left side over here, there's Voyager and other things like that. But we're going to go in here with the little icon that looks like a place marker or something like that. Now, what Google Earth, what Google Earth Projects really is like a tour of locations that you choose, and you decide what you want your user to see at those particular locations. So let's start with opening up mine here. I will tell you that my list of projects looks very neat and tidy. That's because these projects are stored in your Google Drive, and you can decide which ones show here and which ones don't. So my drive is very messy, but the display here is cleaned up. Normally in this hands-on session, I would show a couple of examples, but we only have time for one. So I had to choose between the fun example and the educational example, and we're going to do the fun example. So that's the virtual trip to Amsterdam. Now, what you're seeing here is the edit view. This is what you would see when you're creating and editing a project. So this is a trip that we were supposed to take last April, and everybody knows what happened to travel last April. It kind of went out the window. So I decided to take the research that I had done for that trip and just turn it into a tour. So as I said, a tour is really nothing more than a collection of locations and other information that you've lined up here, so that when your user goes in and sees that tour, they're watching it in the order that you want with the information that you want. So before I show you about editing, let's take a look at what this looks like once it's presented. So I'm going to click the button that says present right here. And so now we're basically looking at the first location, which is really nothing more than a still picture. You can use these, I'm using this as an introductory slide basically, but you can use these in other places in the tour also to put other information in there, put charts and graphs and pictures of animals or whatever you happen to want that is relevant to your particular tour. Down here in the lower corner is the navigation controls, left and right arrows to step through the tour. And I can click on that and I can jump to any one particular slide, just clicking on the table of contents there. So that's my introductory opening slide there. So click on that, and it's going to take me now to my first location. Whenever I do a tour like this, a project like this, I always have to start with where I'm leaving from. So we leave from Dulles there. And so this is a nice 3D image of Dulles. In Google Earth, you have all these different locations, and some of them have nice, clear 3D images, and some of them are a little on the murky side. It all depends on what photography has been done at that particular location. All right, so our second stop, then we fly, fortunately it was going to be a non-stop, so we fly direct to the airport in Amsterdam. You notice this has no 3D look to it, and that's because Google never sent their 3D planes overhead so they could take that. Notice in the upper right corner, this is an information box. That information box can contain any information you want to put into it. In this case, it was just a picture of the front of the airport along with a couple lines of text. And as you'll see, this can vary all kinds of different kinds of information as we go through this. All right, next stop is the train station. You take the train from the airport to the train station. And you notice this is very detailed 3D. Google has some wonderful 3D imagery throughout their, in major cities especially. So, and again, the picture, the information in the box there. Okay, we'll go a couple more steps here. In this case, you're going to notice the image looks a little bit different. And that's because I've dropped into what's called a photosphere or Google Street View. And so if I wanted to, I can look all the way around here, inside here, up and down. Nice sunny day that day that they took this. And so you can use Street View images in your tour as well as just regular overhead shots. And you'll see how to do that as we go through this. You also notice that the information box looks a little bit different. When you search for a location and you put it into your project, Google automatically populates that location with their own picture and some information. And usually the information and the picture both come from Wikipedia. If you don't want that there, then you have to replace it yourself. Otherwise, that stays in place there. So we'll show how to do that also as we go through this. Like I said, a couple more stops here. Oh yeah, we were going to stay on a houseboat found on Airbnb. So might as well find where it is and do the picture of it. And then you can get several Street View sorts of pictures from there. Again, look around and see what the area looks like. In this case, I didn't put a picture in this, so it's just text. So in the information box there. And in this particular view, Street View from the river, but there's no text box, no information box. I just left it out. So I didn't put anything in there. And so no box is shown when there's nothing there. And this is an example of what's called a large information box. The other ones were the small information box. So this is the large information box that covers the right side of the screen. You'll also notice the arrows in there, and that's because I have more than one picture. You can put multiple pictures in here, and if you notice, the next picture is not a picture, it's a movie, it's a video. So you can put video in here as well. And if I were to click this, I'm not going to, but if I were to click this, it would play that video full screen. So you have the option of putting in text, video, still images, all kinds of other information. One more stop and then we'll quit this here. So there you go. More 3D imagery from Amsterdam. And enough of that. So the arrow in the upper left corner takes us back to our edit view. And again, wherever you see the little pencil icon in here, it means that I can come down here and edit that particular feature. So I can edit the title, I can edit the description, I can edit any of the different things. All right, so that's the quick view of an example tour. Does anybody have any questions to start with you do, just type them in the chat room there.
No questions yet?
No questions?
No.
All right, then we'll just dive in and we'll do start ourselves a tour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back one level, and under new project, I'm going to click on that. And you have some choices here. The new project also will allow you to open a project that you have in progress that's in your Google Drive. All of your projects are stored in the Google Drive account that you're logged into currently. Okay. You can also work with KML files. This gets a little bit esoteric. Google Earth actually goes back to 2005 when Google bought a company that was designing a standalone program. And you may have seen the standalone program, Google Earth, and you can put layers on that, and they use something called KML. We're not getting into that in this session at all. So let's just create a project and store it in Google Drive. All right, so we need to give this a title. I always encourage you to give it a title, because if you start multiple projects like I do, you wind up with 5 or 6 untitled projects all in a row, and you never know what you're looking at. So we're going to call this the VSTE 2020 World Tour. Okay, and I've got some text here, so I don't have to be typing in front of you. I'm just going to paste the text that I wrote in advance in there into the thing, but you could write anything that you want in there. Okay, that gives us the title and the description. So now we need to start down here with a new feature. And if I click on new feature, I have 3 or 4 choices, and we're going to go through a couple of these. We can search to add a place, but for this, I'm going to put a title slide in here and say, I want a full screen slide. And so basically this gives me the editing box for that full screen slide. I can call this just welcome to our tour. I can put some text in here if I want a description of what this slide's all about, but let's put a background in here, and I'm going to go, let's see, I'm going to upload this and select it from where I have here. And oops, that's not the one I want. I want this one. Okay. And so I'm uploading this from my computer. You can bring it from your Google Drive. You can bring it from a Google image search. You can do all sorts of things in order to bring this in. And so there I have my slide. So if I come back here, now my opening slide is right there. And if I present this, you'll see this is the slide that I used to start my tour with. Again, you can put these still images in multiple places throughout your tour and use it for all kinds of different things. All right, so let's start. I'm going to add the first one. This is the project you're going to be collaborating on. And the project is going to be a collection of locations anywhere in the world that you would like to visit when we are allowed out of out of quarantine, when the rest of the world will let us back in. So I'm going to start this by putting a place that I'd like to visit. And we're going to do that by searching to add the place. Now, search in Google Earth is like search in anything else in Google. You just have to start typing and hope that you get it accurately. So I want to go to Budapest, but Budapest is too big a place to just put as a location. So we're going to look for the Buda Castle in Budapest, and see there's a fashion hotel named Buda Castle, but the one I want is the one at the top up there. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to fly me to that location. Okay, so there's my view of the castle, and it automatically starts you rotating a little bit here. So I'm clicking and dragging now. Now, navigating around Google Earth can be a little tricky sometimes. In the references that I'm going to give you, there's a little tutorial for how to navigate. But I'm going to get a better view of this by rotating around the other way. And what I'm doing here is I'm holding down the shift key and I'm clicking with the mouse to rotate back and forth. And that rotates me around the point there. I don't know if you can see the compass rose down there. That's the center point around which I'm rotating. When I click and drag forward and backwards, it tilts the view. So especially in an area that has 3D, this is, okay, let's see, let's use that as our thing. Now, what I want to do is, oops, I'm sorry, I did this in the wrong order. I have to add it to the project first and then change it. So we'll add it to the project, Buddha Castle, it goes into this particular project, and if I had multiple other projects, I could save it there. And then I'm going to go to edit place. My fault, I should have done that first. So very quickly, let's get the view back around here. And we'll take that view of this particular thing. That's when I'm going to click this button that says capture view down here in the lower left. Once I got it added to my project and I have the view that I want, so I click capture this view. Okay, let's take a look at the information box over there on the left side. Right now, Google has inserted some information about Buddha Castle from Wikipedia, and it's inserted a picture. So I don't want that. So I'm going to replace that. I'm going to click the button that says replace. And I'm going to click on the camera there. And again, I'm going to get a picture that I have out here. And I like their picture better than my picture better than their picture. And it'll upload it and put it right there. There we go. Now notice I have an option here to click that camera again. I can put in another picture. I can, if I click that, my choices here is I can go to a Google image search. So I can just say Buddha Castle, and Google will show me all of these different pictures that I can use. Let's see, let's take, this one's a nice one down here. So we'll select that one. And I can keep doing that, and I can put in multiple pictures. If I click again, I can also go to YouTube and search for something, or you can go to your own YouTube account and import a video if you happen to have one there. I can get a picture from my Google Drive. When it says your photos, that's going to your Google Photos account. Google Photos is a separate image storing service that Google has. Or I can enter a URL. If I found a picture online and I have a URL directly to that picture, I can use that. But 2 pictures here is enough. I can now enter some information about this. So let's see, let's take, and I copy and paste this. Now, this is something I recommend you do if you're going to do this as a project or something. Make sure the kids do their research before you get into Google Earth. Make them actually do the writing, find the pictures, find the video, whatever they're going to do before they get into the program, because otherwise, once they get in the program, you wind up losing them sometimes. They start exploring and they forget the important parts of this. There's also some other information. This is other settings down here. This is where you change it from no info box. That's what, like the one I had that had no info box in the corner. The small info box is the one you saw on most of ours with the picture and the text, and the large info box that covers the right side of the screen. So we're just going to leave that as small info box. I'm not going to go into a lot on this. You can change the place marks that are on there, do all kinds of things. You can upload your own place marks, different colors. I'll let you play with that. The bottom part of this, just ignore it. This is if you want to set the heading and the camera view is what they call it on your own by entering the tilt and the range and everything. And that's a lot of work. Just do it with the click and drag. You don't want to. All right, so there we have it. And now I have Buddha Castle as my first one. So let's go ahead and present this. And that's our first slide. And then the second one, we just click the arrow here to go to the next one. If we were somewhere else, it would fly to this location. We were already here. And you can see the information box up there in the corner. And then we can go through the slides there. So that's the location there. Very quickly, I'm going to add another location here. It's actually going to be in the same location. So I'm going to do a new feature, but I'm going to add the place mark myself and set it right there. I'm just going to click on this and I'm going to call Buddha Castle from the Dome. And you'll see why I'm calling it this in just a second. Okay, so we're going to edit the place now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to swing around again and zoom in. And then down here in the lower right corner, you'll see this little guy down here, this little thing, it's called Pegman. And this is how you turn on Street View. So if I click on that, notice that I get some lines back here that represent where they've taken the Street View cameras. The Street View cameras are not always done in cars. Sometimes they're on little carts that they push around. They've done it on donkeys, on camels, and lots of things. But the other thing I want you to notice here is that there are little circles around on the picture in Street View. Let's swing this around a little bit here. And you can see the circles down here in different places. Okay, and unfortunately, the circle that I had earlier is no longer showing. It was up here on the dome. So we're just going to go ahead and get one of these down on the ground. So I'm going to click on that. And, whoops, all right, that's all right. We came inside. Well, it's not a good picture, but we'll take it anyway. So we'll call this Buddha Castle inside. This is where you have to, be flexible. Anyway, so that will now become this. As soon as I click this button down here, in the lower side where it says capture this view, that's now my setting. I can go ahead and fill in my text. I had an image up here to add to it that's going to be totally irrelevant, but we're going to do it anyway. This is a picture that somebody took from the top of the dome. And now we have the first two stops on our tour. So if I click present, I go there, and then I step around and it comes around to this view with this information up here. And then I click and it's going to go inside for me. And I now can look around and see inside. I may change this later, so but we'll see. We can always edit it later, right? And that's the start of our tour. So this is the kind of thing where, like I said, if you're doing this with students, and I've done this with small groups and larger groups, you can then share this tour with them for collaboration. And it's the same kind of collaboration way that you share for collaboration with any other Google Doc. You give the Google the address, email address, or the name of the person, and if they're in your address book, they're automatically shared. And if you have a group of students, you can share it with a group. And so, it's easy to share this out for collaboration. And that's what we're going to do next. Is I'm going to share this with as many of you that want to do this. So let me just get the address to show you where to do that. Copy that and put it into the chat here.
We have 5 more minutes, Tim.
All right, I'm doing pretty well here. So if you would like to join us on this and add 1 or 2 or 3 locations to the tour, all you have to do is go to this survey form that I've put the link to here. The link is also in the description for this in Sketch if you want to, if you don't get it here and want to go back later. just give me your name and Gmail address, and I will share this with you. It'll probably be tomorrow morning because tonight we have a bunch of other stuff going on. So, but it'll be probably tomorrow morning. You'll get a message saying that I've shared a Google Earth tour for you to collaborate on. Then go in and add a location or 2 or 3 anywhere that you want to. You know, please add your name to the description so we know who's responsible for it. Try to avoid putting any sort of strange or unusual pictures. But let's see how this works. How many people do we have in the session right now?
I think 32 right now.
Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad the 100 and so people who put this down didn't show up. Because I've never really tried a collaboration with more than about 20 or 30 people. If we had tried it with 100, we might crash the system, who knows. Can you add a voice recording to a presentation in Google Earth? That was something I'm actually going to talk about at the second part or third part, whatever you want to call it. At this point, you cannot record directly into a presentation. If you want to fool with some code, and since your name is code.org, I'm assuming you like to fool with code, there are some directions for how you can use HTML to embed code for audio into one of the information boxes. And I've tried it a couple of times. It does work. It all depends on you storing your audio somewhere else. So you cannot record directly into it. I'm hoping I'm hoping that Google will add that feature at some point, but you know, who knows what Google's going to do. In addition to the link for the survey form, I also put a link to my website where I have some tutorials about this. So if you want to review how to add a location, that tutorial is there. If you want some information about navigating in Google Earth, that's around there also. And just a basic introduction to Google Earth if you don't have, if you haven't played much with it at all. So, any other questions for right now? In the next part, we're going to go back and look at the tour that we create as a group. What limits are they as locations, collaborators? Again, I don't know how many collaborators you can have in there. I think it's probably the same upper limit as you have in any other Google document. As far as locations are concerned, the largest tour I've ever put together, or I've ever put together with a group, is about 35 locations, and we had no problems at all. There could be an upper limit. Maybe we'll reach that if everybody puts in 4 or 5. But we're all going to find out here. Is there a best way to search for published tours available? There isn't at this particular time. I think Google is working on some kind of gallery or some kind of library, but the best way to get tours is to simply do a search in the regular Google search and search for Google Earth projects and see if people have put up links out there. Because you can put up a project, but you don't necessarily have to share it. As far as RAM, in other words, does it bog down? Google Earth can get bogged down, but I've done this with groups who have been using Chromebooks, and it worked pretty well in Chromebooks. And Chromebooks are pretty well noted for not having a whole lot of, not have a lot of RAM in them and everything. So. And yes, as Gina said, we can take this discussion into Discord. If you have any additional questions, I will be hanging out in there, and you can use, what room are we in anyway? We're in
Crystal B.
Crystal B, so we can use the Crystal B room in there. You can also send me a direct message in Discord. I'll be hanging around the next few days, and I'll be happy to answer any questions or solve any problems you have. And that was pretty fast.
Very good, Tim. Very good. Very informative.
All right.
Thank you.
Again, the second part will go into a little bit more detail about, and answer a lot more questions. So hopefully you can all join us for that.
Mhm. So we'd like to thank everyone for attending, and we want to encourage you to go to Discord. I put the link in the chat, and you can meet Tim there. And if you have any more questions or anything, he'll be there to chat with you. Okay. So thank you all, everyone.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Okay. Bye bye.
Let's